Good afternoon. Welcome to Embracing Change, Talking Through Trauma. And today my guest is Kiawna Brinson Clayton. And Kiawna resides in New Hampton,
Newport News.
yes, okay. Thank you. So Kiawna is coming to the table today with a vast number of talents. She is a mother and a wife and a sister. And she also owns a movement studio also in New Hampton, correct?
Newport News, Virginia.
Newport News, Virginia. How about if we start over right here? We're not
That's
gonna
okay.
go, we're just gonna leave it and I'll tell him to segue
Thank
out.
you.
Okay, so Anthony, you need to just cut this out and we're gonna start again. Good afternoon. Welcome to Embracing Change, Talking Through Trauma. And today my guest is Kiawna Brinson Clayton. And she is a movement educator, pastor, a wife, um, ACE certified, trauma certified. And today we're going to talk about um, self-care from a few different angles and the importance of why self-care is so important on many different levels. But we're going to focus on self-care for individuals, but then we're also going to talk about why it's so important in regards to, like, if you're a caregiver for a family member or a caregiver, um, I mean, even in your own family, but as movement educators, we're also caregivers in our studio, and we don't call it a caregiver, but we still have a lot of roles and responsibilities for those. So, welcome, Kiawna.
Thank
I'm
you. Thank you, Tammy. And thank you for, doing this again. I know we briefly a little while back, did a podcast about self-care and a little touched a little bit on caregiver, but this is such a vast topic. And I thank you for coming again to talk
Well,
about.
and I feel like it's so important in so many different realms. I mean, I've done a quite an extensive, like, just for my own knowledge. When you think about like all of the stuff from post COVID, and there's been a huge increase in mental health issues around anxiety and depression, which has definitely had an impact on so many other people. So even if you have a family member who is suffering from a mental health condition, it still places caregiving, maybe not direct caregiving, but you're still making sure their well-being is okay. But it also could mean caregiving for parent, caregiving for children, but more specifically, if you have a child who has any kind of diagnosis, they could be neurodivergent, you could have a child with sensory issues, with autism, even physical
Yeah.
disability. So, and a lot of times we put ourselves on the back burner as women.
Absolutely. And thank you, yeah, for saying that because, it seems like, our population, we're just getting sicker and sicker. People are getting sicker, whether it's mental health, physical health, things are just kind of people are kind of needing more care. And caregivers are stepping in place and have to step in place for that. At this moment, it seems like it's heightened, like you said, ever since COVID and some other things just going on. It's in high demand right now, caregiving.
Well, and if you think about, like, even like you said, high demand, but also like there's so many more people whose nervous systems are like in that fight, flight, or freeze. And we're like, when at the time of this broadcast, we have experienced two hurricanes pretty close back to back, which are in different areas of the United States, but it still is impacting a lot of different people. And
Yeah.
I think that it's just that, and unfortunately, it's for the time right now. But anxiety, depression, mental health. So, do you see in your studio a lot of clients who lack their self-care, so to speak?
Do I? Yes, I'd say so. Um, a lot of them, well, I would say that they probably think about it a little bit because they come to me. So they know they need at least an hour of some sort of self-care. But outside of me, I don't think they're getting much. And so I think it's really important, for me as a professional to make sure that when they come to my space, that they're getting, exactly what they need. So I kind of try to gauge people, as they come in
Mhm.
for their sessions to kind of see where they are and see exactly what they're needing for that hour.
Totally understand. A few weeks ago, I did a group presentation um, for women who were educators, and just the response when I asked, like, what do you do for yourself? Not many hands went up, which I was really surprised.
Mm.
And I started with some breath work with them, but even still, it's just we think that like going in to get a pedicure or going to get a manicure is totally self-care, but it doesn't allow our bodies to truly relax 100%, which that's where it's really it's needed. I mean,
Right,
our
right.
bodies have to be we have to reset our bodies by either, doing a multitude of things. So,
Yeah.
seen any of your clients that have had like severe, like, mm, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just a breakdown. Have you seen clients that have had those?
I haven't actually seen it, but I've
Well,
heard.
or maybe how about they tell you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard stories about it, just having those breakdowns. And it's like, wow. And I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. It's like, before I was really totally oblivious or unaware
Mm,
of the importance of self-care until I
mhm.
started hearing the stories about it, and then even started to experiencing some of that myself. But yeah, I have heard stories of clients just having meltdowns and not knowing what to do. I think sometimes it's like self-care for some people seems to be selfish,
Yes.
or
Oh, good. Mm,
right,
yes.
it seems to be selfish. It seems to be like, well, I don't have time to do this for me. I have all of this other stuff to do. So it's almost like I don't know, like an unheard of thing for some people.
Well, and I've even done some parenting groups, and like being a parent and saying you don't have time
Mm,
to I mean, I've heard it as well from that realm as well, that they don't have time, or
yeah,
teachers don't have time, or caring for an elderly parent, they don't have time.
yeah.
And then I hear stories like I did yesterday because um, this person had not really been addressing self-care on a level, and she was in the nursing profession, that it truly started taking a toll on her, and she developed psoriatic arthritis, and she also had she's got fibromyalgia as well, but she now is she's out on disability, and it's like,
Wow.
huh, she's out on disability, which is in my opinion, is a good thing, because it's going to make, like, she's going to have to step back and reevaluate. My body is telling me something. And so oftentimes we don't listen to those messages that our bodies are telling us something. And because so many times people have always been in that push, push, push mode, like
Yes.
career oriented or whatever they were, and not listen, and they don't really truly know how to listen internally.
Mhm. And I think it's really important that they do that, connect, with their bodies, feel what's happening, and know when something doesn't feel right or something's wrong, because your body is trying to tell you. Your body will tell you, it's like, hey, waving that white flag, like, I've had enough. There's too many stressors coming in, and I'm going to shut down if you don't do something.
Well, and it's just like Bessel van der Kolk says, that the body keeps score. The body
Yeah.
keeps score, and it can add on and add on. I think that's really valid that you're saying that, but also I think that when you have people from the like when they're coming from I'm just even going to say even from like the physical fitness end of it, where people are wanting to look a certain way, or they want to act a certain way, or they want to achieve something from a certain level, but they ignore their own issues. Like, even look at the fitness industry on our end, and how many women, and I think more and more women now are beginning to identify and take handle of it, with the eating disorders.
Yes. Hmm.
And there's a huge increase in autoimmune disorders, and it's predominantly women that have the autoimmune disorders.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like that, kind of like that ripple effect, we have all of this, on our selves, and on our daily tasks, things to do, and being caregivers, and we don't realize the stress that's coming into the body, and then it causes other things to happen, the chronic illness, the mental, illness, all kinds of things, and it just kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of all
And
kinds. Mhm.
you have a special passion around self-care for caregivers, correct?
Yes,
In what you're
absolutely.
looking at doing. Yeah. So talk a little bit about some of the things that like that you even have offered, like in your studio, that are smaller, but you're going to be going larger with what you want to do, right?
Yes.
And expanding your services for it. So what have you done, and what are you proposing, like, to look at, like, in the future? What do you want to do in the future? Offer more,
Oh,
to bring more awareness to the
mhm.
importance of self-care.
Yeah, awareness. I like that. So I was actually speaking with a young lady on yesterday, and she's a potential client, and we were talking, and I was sharing with her a little bit how I've kind of been in that role of caregiver for maybe the past two, now almost 3 years, going on 3 years, with my parents. It was first with my mom, who unfortunately we lost in May, and then, now in with my dad. But we were talking, and she was telling me how she's moved back to the area, and how she's with her parents right now. And she said, you know what, Kian, I never really thought about it, or thought of myself as a caregiver, but I guess I am. So some people may not even be aware, you know, that they are in fact caregivers, that they are in fact in need of self-care. So what I've started to do in my studio, and as I meet new clients and I'm introduced to new clients, I just kind of, not to pry so much into their lives, but just kind of see where they are in life, what they have going on, because that also is important as they come to even just work out, just kind of see where their schedules are. But, when I hear something like, if they're taking care of a parent, or if they're a mom even, or a nurse, a doctor, teacher, whatever, ask them, what are you doing for self? And how would you, or would you mind, when you come for your session, we kind of go through some, maybe some meditation, maybe some breathing techniques, maybe a little bit of drumming, because I do a little drumming, with a frame drum that I actually have now. The African kalimba, also use that. And just maybe using some light, gentle movements like stretching, and some things on the big, stability balls, the Swiss balls. So those are some of the things that I like to offer at the studio. And since I've been incorporating that into my clients' work, they've actually really enjoyed their sessions. I mean, they leave feeling better, and they're like, thank you. And they say, thank you. Thank you. I feel so much better. Or when they come back, they're like, can we do, what we did, in our last session. So,
Yeah, in essence, you're doing nervous system work. You're just doing it in a roundabout way, with,
mhm,
like, down regulating their nervous system.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and I think it's all of those things. I mean, there's huge studies around drumming, and the benefits of, like, just the rhythmic and the drumming and the vibration from it is just really important. That's
It is.
important.
Yeah.
It's really important stuff. And when you include, the breathing and all of the other stuff that goes along with it, it's kind of interesting that I am expanding my program as well, and I'm looking to incorporate more children and families into my practice as well. And in getting ready to, like, launch things, I actually interviewed more mothers than I have fathers. The response that I get to them is they're stressed out, they're really tired or fatigued, that they don't have any support um, from anybody else. I mean, the one, like I said, or their children are really clingy and they'll only go to one parent. And I just think it's just so crucial.
It
So
is.
kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's great work, and it also helps me, with my nervous system. So I think this is the direction that God wanted me to actually go in, getting back into more of the healing, work, and helping people, just feel better and do better.
And I think that that's really important that you say that because so oftentimes we think that we choose, um, I'm going to just say choose professions. And like you, I mean, my career originally started with for many, many, many years working in the field of early childhood education, but I worked with lots of families that have been impacted by trauma. And then all of a sudden I'm in the studio and it was almost like I kept two silos, one for the studio, one for, my past with working in education. And it's been coming for a long time. I can just say that. But to bring the worlds together has been really probably one of the most profound things that I've done. Um, Probably in the last 6 months because I've been thinking about it.
That's
But
awesome.
to teach little ones and have it, like teach them how to breathe and how to begin to co-regulate with their parents or their parents co-regulating with them before they're teenagers and giving them skills now versus when they're teenagers. So and I
Right.
just and I feel that that's so important that it's that to recognize them because they're taking on our stress just like um I mean you've got grandchildren, you understand what
Yeah.
I mean,
That's so
so
important.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
aren't you getting ready to do an event too for self-care as well?
Yes. I'm going to be doing a mini mindfulness retreat coming up in November, November 16th. It's going to be from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And, I'm going to get some people together. And actually, I'm opening this event up to both men and women. I think sometimes, of course, you get more women because men sometimes don't like to, share as much as we do, I think. But I'm opening the event up to both. And we're going to come together for 2.5 hours. We're going to do some mindfulness movement, some light maybe movement, breathing, meditation. Going to have a drum circle while we meditate, and some fresh, healthy, delicious juices for everyone, and maybe a couple more things. I won't spoil the surprise, but maybe a couple more things coming up. Yeah, and I just want people to just really take into consideration that this is for you, right? Really, you want to get out of your head, get into your body, right? Come and just move if you want. If not, you know what? Lay on your mat and just take a nap if you want to, or whatever. But I want people to come to a safe space, right? We talk about spaces, and a safe space where they can feel free and to share if they want to, and to just be themselves. Um, this whole thing of self-care and caregiving, I think I want people to know more than anything, it's a call for hope. It's giving people hope, because
Mhm.
sometimes when you're in this role, at least I know for myself, when I'm in this role, I feel like there's no hope. I'm feeling like, from day to day, I don't know, I need hope. And that's what I want my space to eventually be at Fit Vision, a place where people can come, because I know some days for me, when my nervous system is all out of whack, I'm like looking for something, to do calming, for my nervous system, for my mind, for my body, for my blood pressure, and I don't have those spaces around. Where do I go? So why not create that space for people? And that's what Fit Vision is going to be for
You
me.
can, you do have those spaces within you.
Yeah.
And it's anchoring into your breath. It's
Hmm.
anchoring into movement that feels good for your body. And I think that what you're providing for your clients, um, it's giving them, you're asking them to revisit who they are internally, like you're come home to your body.
Yes.
And that's just so important. And then creating spaces that, people can walk into, and it's nurturing, and it's whatever else you can do, but it has to, and for some of them, it might mean walking in and it might be the environment, but eventually having that sense of safe within themselves is really something that's where we eventually want people to go, is that sense of safety within. So, and oftentimes, if people haven't taken care of their bodies, they don't know how to be kind to themselves.
Right. They don't know what that even feels like.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And I think that it's all, mm, I think that the profession, like when you look at like the world of fitness, so to speak, and you've got like all of these different modalities. Yes, you've got personal training and you've got Pilates. And for me, it's Pilates and yoga and, you know, breathing and nervous system integration. So it's integrating a lot of things that speak to us individually as well as professionally. And I think that it's so like it's the uniqueness part of you're bringing yourself into your business,
Hmm.
all aspects
Yeah.
from you've talked about it, your ministry and all of the other things that we both bring into the table, so to speak. So,
Yes.
but yeah.
Yes. And getting back to the primal things, right? Our bodies are like amazing machines.
And when we take the time to nurture and fuel our bodies with exercise and food and water, they can do amazing things.
Amazing.
Um,
Yes.
I
Hmm.
mean, they truly can. And I think that, we're talking in the month of October, and 18 years ago, I had breast cancer. And I would say to you that, I thought I had dealt with all of my own emotional wounds behind it, but I was too busy caretaking for everybody else. And I didn't. And thank goodness breast cancer never came back. But I'm just going to say that when you flip that switch and you start really paying attention to how you're eating, how you're moving, how you're drinking, getting a personal trainer or Pilates instructor or something where
Yeah.
it's working with somebody to help. Sometimes it takes you working with somebody else to help you regain that focus on so many different levels.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was, talking about when I was like, just having a space for people who may not know, well, how do I find that? But creating a space for people to come and to find that. And not just caregivers. I mean, although we're talking about caregivers today, but anyone who needs it.
I think it's only important to add in the importance for men as well, because so oftentimes men, they're too busy working and doing other things besides putting the focus on them as well. And that's equally as important for them as well. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
it's it's a big topic, and I feel like we can pick away at it a little bit at a time, so to speak. But it's like really tempting to bring the focus back on yourself. And one thing that I am going to say that I encourage, because if you've gone through something, a lot of times it stifles your voice and your choice and your agency. And sometimes finding your voice to speak up and say, I need to do this, can be scary for people. But even start journaling and putting things down on paper, even if it's a sticky note on the wall of something that you want to do, but it's still that might be your voice right now
Right.
saying, you need to go do this. and beginning, and that might be it's the awareness that begins the process.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm just really excited about the whole piece, and just to see who, the people that I'm going to reach with this whole thing. Um, and like you said, it's such a huge topic. And there's so many layers to it. And I think first and foremost though is just getting people to be aware that they need it.
It is.
I was in the supermarket the other day and I saw this lady, and it kind of brought back a little something for me. um she was she had a cart, dragging a cart behind her, and then she had who looked like maybe her mom or someone, an elderly woman, in a wheelchair that she was pushing in front. And
Wow.
Tammy and this lady, oh my gosh, she just looked like she was just like, oh my, not okay,
Mhm.
right? Like she just had so much on her at the moment. And I'm sure she did, because you saw it. First of all, she's pulling a cart, she's pushing the lady in the wheelchair. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wanted to reach out to her and say, I need you to please come to this event. I didn't, but it's that those are the people that I really want to help, and I know and I understand it's not saying that you shouldn't, or you shouldn't do what you're doing. Yeah, we know you have to, but you have to put on your mask first, right, before you can help anyone else. So she really looked like she just really needed a break and really needed some self-care.
So that means if you're taking care of a parent, you are a parent yourself, and you're taking care of a child, a newborn baby, uh, a family member who's ill because of some kind of illness that they have. Step back and I forgot all about that term, Kiana.
Yeah,
Yeah, put your mask on first, because what do the airlines tell you? You got to have your mask on before you can take care of anybody else on the plane.
have to.
So,
And that's life. I mean, when you look at it, yeah, if we're not well, how do we expect to take care of anyone else?
well, and the other thing is that it feeds into that dynamics of your nervous system. If you're short and being edgy with people, it's going to come back, it's going to circle back around. And it's like learning how to begin to understand, if somebody's sick, they're going to be edgy, but for you to be able to take care of yourself enough to say, you know what, I hear what you're saying, let's try this. And
Hmm.
having empathy and compassion for people, which I think a lot of times, when there is the lack of self-care, that is one of the things that, the dynamics in relationships changes.
Right,
So,
right. That's why I think it's important for people to really understand that it's okay to ask for help.
oh,
It's okay to say, hey, I need some help, you know,
mhm.
because that's another thing that kind of gets us into,
And I
that
think
kind
that's
of spiral.
so important, because oftentimes people don't ask for help.
Right, right. And
Yeah. And
you
it's
need
I,
help.
we think about, yeah, but when we think, yeah, yeah. But so, Kiana, this is there, I just want to say before, so your event is November 16th,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
And tell them how to find you. And I'll put it in the show notes too as well. But do you want them to email you if they're interested?
Yes, if you are interested, my email is vafitvision@gmail.com. You could also visit me on Instagram at vafitvision. And you can even call 757-769-5801.
Okay. And I am beginning to expand. So I've done trauma informed movement, but I'm also expanding my services to families, children and families. And you can find me at Studio T Pilates.com. I also am on Instagram at Studio T Pilates MI. And you can also reach me, if you're locally, at 810-241-2858. I do have one more question for you. Is your event going to be virtual or is it going to be a combination of virtual and um
Well,
and-
right now we just have in person.
okay, that's
It's an in-person event. Yes.
okay. That's more than okay. So um Kiana, as always, thank you so much for our conversation today. And it just seems that they're always engaging when we've had them before and in the past. So you can find a podcast on Spotify, but you can also find it on my YouTube channel, which is Studio T Pilates 157. And you're going to be able to find it with Kiana as well, because she'll have access to it as well. So
And I
so
just
much.
want to say one last thing, Tammy, if
Oh
to
yeah.
everyone, if you are a caregiver and you know other caregivers, reach out. Just reach out and give encouragement, just check in and just see how people are doing because that could even go a long way in itself. Yeah.
And I think sometimes just even extending a hand, say, come on, or even if you're going to, like, not even to either one of us, but just even going to a gym and say, come with me. Let's go to yoga. Let's go to the gym, or let's go for a walk outside in nature. I mean,
Yes.
I know that for some of us, the weather's already starting to change and get a little cooler, but get yourself outside, put your feet in the grass,
Yes.
or go to the ocean.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Be over
I'll
there.
be there
I know.
tomorrow at the beach for a Pilates
Yeah.
on the beach class.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yep.
okay, so Kiana, hold on just a minute. Okay, so thank
Okay.
you for joining us today.
Thank you.